Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pumps and Politics. We're so happy that you have allowed us to be with you. It is, what's today's date? It is October the 6th. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We love being with you. It's a little bit of a rainy day, but a little bit of a slow start. But surprisingly, for a Monday and a rainy Monday, it's been pretty good. Welcome to you, Miss Lainey Brown.
Good morning. Good morning. It is a rainy day, and rainy days and Mondays, it's a really difficult combination. But we're here and we're happy and we're full of information today.
And we have a lot to talk about, a whole lot to talk about. And so many things to start out with. We're watching our breaking news right now on CNN. We're looking at, of course, let's just go ahead and jump into the Ebola outbreak and its presence, if you will, now here in the United States. We know that there are a couple of new patients now that have links to the U.S. The NBC photojournalist who will be arriving
to Nebraska. He's coming into Nebraska.
Yes, this morning they made a fuel stop, and now we're looking as the CDC chief, the head of CDC, will be meeting with the president today to discuss this outbreak. That's how serious it is.
Right. And one of the things is, the last couple of Ebola patients that have been brought into the United States have been brought over from Africa.
Right.
So what makes the different Ebola patient in Dallas different is that he actually traveled on a commercial airline and he was just traveling. We knew that Ebola was going to eventually hit the United States, kind of like the West Nile virus and the, bird flu and everything, because we are such a global society now. So they have contacted 40 of the people that had direct contact with him on the plane, and then there's another 80 people that they are watching, and then the family that he actually came in to stay with, which was his girlfriend and her family in Dallas, they have actually moved them from the apartment where they were in, quarantined them. Somebody donated a house, which is amazing, in a gated community, and have quarantined them. But none of them are showing signs of Ebola transmission. So I think that should allay some of the fears that people have about how you contract Ebola.
Well, but speaking of fears, let me tell you what's scary about that. And we just saw that that CDC and U.S. officials are going to be working with the airports here to improve their screenings of it as people are bringing it to the United States in their travels. Here's what's scary about that, because it brings the question, are we prepared to deal with this? Because he was treated, and I forget his name, the guy who's in Dallas.
Daniel, keep going and it'll come to me.
Okay, so he comes back from Africa, and the reports I'm reading are saying that he was coming back to get married. So he comes back, he's on the plane, not feeling any symptoms. And according to the CDC, people cannot transmit Ebola until they begin to experience the symptoms. So he's not having any symptoms while he's on the plane. So those he came in contact with are seemingly safe, but he gets sick, goes to the hospital. And they asked him, have you been to Africa? And there's a guy from the health department here in Nashville said, there are reasons why they ask those questions, because it opens up a whole nother realm of testing, such as Ebola.
Right.
When he said that, they disregarded it and sent him home. That's where the fear comes in.
Right. It's the health workers not being prepared and not asking the right questions. And then when they ask the right questions, still not acting upon the questions that from the answers that they receive. His name is Thomas Duncan. And actually right now they're saying that he's on dialysis. He's unconscious. His kidneys have shut down. He's on a breathing machine. So, we can send out prayers to him, because no one should have to, deal with this disease. Now, one of the things that we just saw was on that he didn't receive the Ebola serum that everybody is talking about.
The head of CDC talked about that. He said that they don't have any more, and it's really difficult, complicated, and a lengthy process to create more. He also said, we're not sure if it works, because, when they did treat the
two health workers.
Right, that came in. He said that, we're not sure if it worked or not. So it's still an uncertainty. So we can't put all of our eggs in that basket anyway. But it's like, people are dying. What do we have to lose?
Those two health workers seemingly got better. So I would rather err on the side of, do something.
Right.
Give them something,
right.
And the fact that it's taking a long time to create this serum, they knew Ebola is not new. Ebola was discovered in 1976. And a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, they had a big Ebola outbreak and they were able to contain it. And so it's not like Ebola has been eradicated. So they should have been making this serum or trying to formulate a serum. But I think that when they thought that Ebola was just in the continent of Africa, certain things get a little hairy, certain things get a little fishy with stuff when it's not directly impacting the United States, or if it wasn't directly impacting maybe Europe. So, I think there's a lot of politics in dealing with Ebola.
Speaking of politics and directly affecting the U.S., we just last week, the U.S. sent over supplies to Africa. They also, the U.S. also sent over 3,600 troops. And guess what? At the end of the month, we, based here in Tennessee area, if you will be sending over, I believe it was 600
more troops, right?
From Fort Campbell here to go straight into Africa.
And what they're going to do is they're going to build, I think they said 27 units to house the Ebola, because that's
centers.
part of the problem is that a lot of these people are going home and infecting their communities.
And it's spreading and spreading and spreading.
So if they can contain and house and, and they said a lot of it is basic hand washing, and those are things that we take for granted, So, and it's, I saw a kind of funny thing the other day on Facebook. People have all those memes and stuff going on Facebook, and they said, AIDS has been here for quite some time, and people won't wear condoms.
I saw that.
But now you trying to bleach and hand wash and do all this stuff for Ebola, and you got 2 people in the United States with Ebola. So,
I saw that.
Things happen when, people get their panties in a bunch, and then they'll forget about it, and we'll move on to the next crisis of the moment. But
yeah, that was such a good point. I was like, wow, okay, that just really it kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it just kind of brought it all home. It's like, okay,
right. So I'm just, we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. But no doubt, it's definitely an ongoing crisis, as they're now calling. It's not just an outbreak. It's not a situation, not just a few patients here or there, but it's now considered a crisis.
Absolutely.
And when you start seeing the head of CDC doing all these interviews and in D.C. to brief the president on it, it's a problem. And it's an American problem.
It's a big problem. And when they said that half of Liberia could be wiped out because of Ebola, that is a problem. We are a global society. As many people think that, well, I live in the United States and I'm protected. No, that's not the way it works anymore. We are a global society. You never know who's traveled where. All you need is a passport and a couple of dollars, and you can go anywhere. And most of the people don't understand is that when you're flying in from Africa, it's not a direct flight. You have to stop in another country. So that's just another area of transfer.
Exactly. And speaking of other illnesses to be worried about, the enterovirus, a respiratory virus that is spreading.
And hitting children horribly.
Very hard. And then
causing paralysis?
Yes, that's the newest thing. So already, if you're susceptible to it already, if you have asthma or any other breathing complications, right? So it's taking over, and it presents itself like a regular cold. You have coughing, sneezing, fever. But now the newest development is that now the patients are experiencing some paralysis and limb weakness, as they say.
And they don't know that they can recover from it. That's the interesting thing. It's not one of those, like if you have a cold and you're coughing and sneezing and then it's over, you go back to normal. But they don't know whether or not this paralysis will reverse itself.
And the thing with the virus, like they say, you have to really kind of let it pass
run its course. There's no antibiotics for viruses and stuff like that.
It's devastating to watch a kid go through that. And we just heard this morning the first child, child has died actually from the enterovirus. Died I believe a couple of weeks back, but tests have come back showing that it was the enterovirus. So they show that the virus has spread now. I believe it's to 48 states.
It took a long time for it to get to Tennessee. I kept watching the map, and it was everywhere around.
Is it in Tennessee now?
And now
the last map I saw, it wasn't here.
Is it here the last one that I saw that it was in Tennessee.
Wow.
So,
Very
you guys
scary.
take your, when your kids when they're sick, take it seriously. It's not just the sniffles anymore. And especially if your child has a pre-existing condition.
And that's the scary thing is that, again, because it presents itself like a cold, you just kind of, pass it over.
And I'm a parent, and, kids get cold. You give them some Tylenol, some soup, some, ginger ale, some tissues, put them in their bed, leave them alone. This is not that kind of virus.
No, can't sleep on it, that's for sure. In other very serious news, we're following the situation out of Iraq and
Syria.
Iraq and Syria, where we have ISIS, and it's getting more intense. The U.S. has launched its largest air assault against the terrorist Islamic group last week. But there is a coalition. Now we have Australia, and I believe Turkey is involved. But ISIS is trying to get a hold of some key borders there.
Right.
We have a lot of oil housed and that operate as the gates to these key cities.
And it seems that there's no communication. There's no gray area of, communication with them. It's what they want or we're killing. And that's it. There is no communications. And now they executed a man of British descent yesterday or the day before yesterday. And now they have an American and his parents. He was over there to help. He was an aid worker. And he was over there to help, and now he said that they read part of the letter that he sent to his parents, and he said he's pretty scared to die, but most of all he's pretty scared because he's scared of not knowing what's going to happen.
I couldn't imagine.
Me either.
I couldn't
and
imagine.
He's young. He's 26, I believe.
Oh my golly.
So
I couldn't imagine just sitting there waiting, not knowing if or even when, because they're so erratic, and sporadic. It's like, what are you going to do minute to minute? Is this a time when you're like just going to dangle me in front of the U.S. or are you going to go and behead me? And when I know that you're capable of doing, but I don't know, and I don't know the day. I don't know if this is my last breath.
Right. What's going to happen? The thing about it is, and they're not capturing people who are, directly involved with the fighting. This was a person who had gone over. He was a medic. He was worked as a medic, and then he took a spiritual journey to decide whether or not he wanted to become a Muslim. So he went to Lebanon to decide whether or not he wanted to become a Muslim. So this wasn't somebody who was there spying or in the war or what have you. So they're just capturing people off the streets, which makes it that much worse.
You just walk by and grab. And then one of the other things that was mentioned, you have a lot of journalists who are over there, and it just seems like they're just killing all the journalists. Well, they're easy pickings
because they're plentiful.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how we learn all this information. That's how we see all these images, because you have these journalists that are over there. But the thing about it is, a lot of them are freelance journalists, like the first two.
Yeah.
They're freelance. They're over there.
And they get into the thick of things. They get in, because to be a journalist, you have to be able to, go in where no one else is going to go.
Or wants to.
Exactly, because you want to be able to get the real.
You're a first responder of sorts. And that's the scary thing, because if you go associated with a news outlet, then you have some restrictions and some guidelines. But as a freelancer, you kind of go in.
You become the gatekeeper.
Right. And you're on your own.
You're on your own.
You have no covering. And then, the U.S. is like, they can dang you all they want. Either we spare your life and risk everyone's, or, what are we going to do?
Did you happen to see over the weekend, yesterday, in Missouri, these protesters, which I thought was very interesting. It was an interesting place. Back to Mike Brown. The protesters interrupt the St. Louis Symphony with a requiem for Mike Brown. They were all dressed up. They bought their tickets, and then when intermission went into intermission, they started singing a requiem for Mike Brown, and they unfurled all of these banners saying that no Black Lives Matter. And
Black Lives Matter,
which was very interesting, because you would think this is a symphony, and the demographics for a symphony usually aren't very they aren't very diverse. And
maybe that's why they went there, because we know Black Lives Matter,
right?
But maybe those who were in the symphony.
And here's the thing: the people that were actually doing the protest were not of African American descent. They were no. And what they did say was that the people in the symphony, after it was all over, clapped and shook their hands and were very, supportive of this movement, saying that, protests, there is a place for protests.
Very. There, send me that link. I missed that one. I want to see this. Was there video?
Yeah, and it was a video. They stood up and they unfurled all these things, and I posted it on my Facebook page.
Okay, I'm gonna go over there and
check
it out.
But yeah, it was very interesting. It was definitely a profound moment.
Well, I want to see that. And speaking of protests, there are a lot of people who are speaking out about Amendment 1 in Tennessee, which would give politicians, if passed, would give politicians a right in a woman's say-so as it relates to abortion. We're going to take that up right after the break. Everyone, keep it locked right here.
Overdue library book? Because you got fine written all over you.
Oh, barf. What about that girl with the hoop earrings?
Ridiculous. When she was dancing...
Megan, look out! Look out!
Oh my God, Becky. Becky, are you okay?
My arm. I think it's broken.
Can you bend it?
It's already bent in the wrong direction.
I can't believe this. I'm so sorry. I only had a few drinks. I was just buzzed.
Really? Just buzzed?
Yeah, I swear.
Well, in that case, my arm is fine. Ah, that's better.
You're really okay? You're serious, Becky?
No, genius. I'm not serious.
Ow! My arm, it hurts.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. Over 200 kids an hour. That adds up to nearly 5,000 kids every school day.
If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. And that someone is you. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because the path to success or failure starts long before graduation day. And the difference between a graduate and a dropout could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We rope it up, 'cause we know how to jump. We roll it out, 'cause we know how to skate. We'll cut it down, 'cause we know what to eat. We'll swap it out. We eat healthy stuff. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Yeah, well come on.
Today's a good day to grab your kids and hang out with them for an hour. Dance, walk, play a sport, or cook a healthy meal. Because just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier.
Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We'll ball it up, 'cause we know how to hoop. We'll mess around, 'cause we know how to play. We'll drop it down, 'cause we know how to dance. We'll veg it up, veg night and day. Can we do it?
Search We Can online to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day to keep you and your kids healthy. Remember, that's We Can. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I'm 19 years old, and this is how I live united. I've always been kind of a computer geek, and I found a way to use those skills to help the homeless in my community. For people facing hard times, computer skills and a basic resume are so important. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference in people's lives. So with United Way, I created a program where I work with the homeless. Together, we go through their whole job history, write a resume, and then save it on their very own USB drive. We provide workbooks and training certificates. I even budgeted for cupcakes so we can celebrate as a class when one of our people gets a job. That's huge. When somebody says, "Hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it." That's what living united feels like to me. My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
And welcome back to Pumps and Politics. We're hitting up some pretty heavy discussions this morning, Lainey. A lot going on in the United States,
It's
and
heavy.
a lot going on across the world, and a lot of that filtering into the United States. We have a couple of announcements that I forgot to mention in the beginning. We have a couple of announcements related to our radio station. We're going to share that towards the end of the show, so you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss
Stay
it.
tuned. Stay tuned. And then tune back in when we post it again.
There you go. And always, of course, be sure to visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Hang out with us a little bit. Send us your questions, comments. Talk to us on there, y'all. We love to hang out with you all outside of our radio show here in the morning. And while we're at it, speaking of those being ill, we want to send our hugs to our awesome co-host, Janine.
The yuckies are going around. I had it last week. There's people in my office that are sick, people that I know are sick. So yeah, the yuckies are going around. So everybody wash their hands. And if you're sick, take a couple days off from work if you have that opportunity, just so that you don't Ebola your office.
Yeah, it's yuck season, that's for sure. So we just want to
isolate yourself and get some rest.
Exactly. Take care of yourself right now. You got to get yourself together, else you won't be able to do anything else.
One thing I do want to talk about, and this kind of brings us into our conversation. Today is the last day to register to vote. So if you are an unregistered voter, today is the absolute last day for this election cycle, not for the rest of your life, but for this particular election cycle, so that you can vote either in the early elections, which begin, I believe, October 15th.
Looking it up right now.
Or on November 4th, when everybody else votes on actual election day. But today is the last day to register. You can go to the Election Commission, which is downtown in the Howard School building, or you can go to the post office, I believe, and get your applications there. So please, please, please register to vote. I know it's a midterm election and it's not, a big sexy election like the presidency, but these are the elections that matter. These are the elections that completely guide the way our cities are run.
They make the decisions.
They do.
And you've really got to be tuned in because, once they're in office and do something or say something that you don't like, you can't be upset.
It's too late.
And I keep using Ferguson, Missouri as, that's the barometer. Don't be Ferguson, Missouri, and not even just related to black and white. I use that as an example to say, do not have anybody, don't be upset if somebody in office does not represent your special interests, you and what you stand for, whether that be race, whether that be a woman, as we're about to talk about Amendment 1, whether that be, middle income, lower income, whatever it is. You need to vote for who's going to represent you. And if you don't vote, don't be upset when they don't speak out on your behalf.
Exactly.
Because you didn't speak out.
Get involved, and if you don't know, ask questions. It's okay not to know everything, because that's one of the reasons why we're doing this show, because we saw there were 4 different amendments that are on, and I think we're going to discuss all 4 of them at some point between now and the election time. But the first one was Amendment 1. And I think Amendment 1 kind of spoke to all of us because it had to do with women's and their rights and their reproductive rights and who makes the decision on what I do with my own body. So Amendment 1 would basically insert the government into your private moments and could even ban abortions without exceptions for rape, incest, or for the health of the woman. You don't have to be pro-choice to agree that Amendment 1 does go a little too far in some people's ideas. Now, on the other side of that, there are a lot of people who believe that, a lot of people believe that the abortion laws are too lenient in the state of Tennessee, and that we're more lenient than Roe versus Wade. So, I think it's one of these questions that we have to just sit down and actually talk about. And does the government belong in making the decisions that you have for your personal reproductive rights?
I think as women, for the most part, we're likely going to say absolutely not. And here's my thought about it. Because there also came a time when there's the question, I believe it was about last year when this really came up for discussion again. Of course, the argument's been around for a while. Those who have a lot of children and don't take care of them, should they, be forced to have procedures that no longer allow them to bear children or produce children? And my personal thought is once you allow the government to have control over your body, even if it's with abortion, then they then have control over everything. They may say, it may come down, it opens Pandora's box where
what's next?
Right. Well, if hypertension and diabetes and cancer, because they tend to be grouped together, if they run so heavily and predominantly in elderly people or in African American people, then maybe we should just start, terminating them before they're born.
Or even, you can't buy or you can't have, at some point the government has to realize the government is not our moral legislators. You cannot legislate morality, and you cannot legislate, a lot of their thoughts, with the abortion are religious based. And that's fine if you are a religious person. But what if you're an atheist or you're agnostic? Then why do your decisions that are made with people who are using their religion, why do they get to make the decisions on what you do with your body?
The problem with that is the basis behind this, the underlying reasons for abortion ever even being a discussion is because of religion. It has nothing to do with the government's concern over women's health and the baby's health. They use those to support their argument, but it has everything to do with religion.
And if you actually use the health of the mother, then actually having a medically induced abortion is much safer than a back alley coat hanger abortion, which was killing women because they were going to these unlicensed doctors, paying thousands and thousands of dollars. There was no medical care, and these women were dying, or they were becoming infertile.
Right, exactly. I mean, putting their lives at risk. And so, if a woman wants to make a decision, because let's even use the example more recently to bring it home even closer. You had very well-known pastor here, Breonna Mitchell, and his wife, Lakeisha, became pregnant and, found out, if I have my timeline correctly, found out very shortly after that she also had cancer and had to make a decision between, chemo and my child.
Right.
The government should never be able to say, okay, your baby's going to die. Or mom, no, you're not going to have an abortion. You have to die.
Right. That is your personal.
That's between Lakeisha and, First Lady Lakeisha and Pastor Breonna were able to, together as a family, make that decision. And one that they would have to live with.
Right.
Not that the government made.
This is no one's, and there was an interesting an essay by Reverend Dr. Judy Cummins in the Tennessean, and she was saying that Amendment 1 is about power, and it's about somebody taking your power away from you. And that's a problem, because... And back to the religious aspect of it, this country was founded on the separation of church and state.
Come on, Lainey.
And a lot of people don't remember that. Right. Or they conveniently, they put it in the back of their mind and they don't want to talk about it. But this, and it goes back to, I see a lot of people, we need to bring back prayer in school. And that's fine if you're going to allow Buddhists to pray, Muslims to pray, atheists not to pray. How do you incorporate? This is not just about Christians being able to pray in school.
Right. It is a Christian-based country, yes. And speaking of that, not to deviate too much from abortion, but it speaks to the whole overarching argument as it relates to politics and religion, where we draw the line. My husband and I, Scott Wallace, a Baptist minister, preacher, we had the discussion. We talk a lot, once they took prayer out of schools, that's when we started to see a lot of these shootings, stabbings, all these problems. And, to an extent, I agree with that. So now the question, a lot of people saying, we should get prayer back in school. Well, to be honest, I don't know that we necessarily should. I'm Christian. I pray. I believe in that. But do I believe that we should force everyone else to pray? No, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. And I may catch some flack for that. He may text me here in a little bit, but I don't think that we should. I don't think that we should force anybody else to make decisions based off of what we believe. We're Christians. So, but that doesn't mean that other people have to operate as I do. Because if we had, let's say, Muslim or atheist or anyone of
Can you-
another faith making decisions.
Muslims pray 5 times a day. So does that, is that going to upset somebody when somebody brings out their prayer rug and gets down on their knees and, faces, I believe you have to face, I'm not sure, north? I can't remember what it is. But Mecca, they face towards Mecca. How is that going to go over in Middle America?
Or any of the religious-based customs that they follow. There's certain things, the women in the headdress,
right,
in terms of the women's and the men's roles, how the children are handled, and funeralized. I mean, there's so many different
different things. I mean, even in the Jewish religion, when someone dies in the Jewish religion, for 7 days, I believe you sit Shiva, which means you sit and you're in black clothes and you cover up all the mirrors and you reflect on that person. So religion is a tangled web that I don't think should be ever inserted into a governmental argument.
Right.
Your morals are your own morals. So if you don't believe in abortion, then don't have one. If you don't believe in gay marriage, then don't marry a gay person.
Yeah, and and there are many folks who are speaking out about it. As you mentioned, Reverend Judy Cummings, who is based here in Nashville, she did speak out related to the Amendment 1, and one of the strong points that she made. Politics does not belong in that medical room. Politics does not belong in the woman's decision to, when it comes to her body. And a couple of other people who are speaking out, David Harper, he's an executive official for our state's Democratic Party, said it's not only about the abortion, there's a real distinct difference between the right to birth and the right to life. So we are opposed to that bill in every way. And the reason for that is just simply we trust people to have good judgments for themselves. And we do not think that the state legislature should be the one making those decisions. They're very personal and they're very private. And we respect people to have their own judgments. Now, we don't necessarily agree with them, but we respect them. And we do not think that we should turn that over to the government. And then, not everybody is saying no. There are some people who are saying yes to it. Leslie Huntz, I believe, is the correct pronunciation for her last name. She's the education director for the Tennessee Right to Life, said, "We want our Constitution to go back to neutral on the issue of abortion so we can pass some common sense regulations to protect mothers and children."
Interesting. I think one of the things, it's kind of funny because you have the people that say, they want this Amendment 1 to pass. And then you look at some of the statistics. 69% are the people that have abortions are economically disadvantaged. So these are the people that don't have the money or making this decision that I don't have the financial means to bring another life into this society. And then you have on the flip side of that, so they bring this child in and they're on welfare, and then you've got the people who are like, take their welfare away because they can't afford. So
lose. It sounds to me like more of the work needs to be on the front end before birth. More education, more access.
But then you've got those same people saying that, and bringing religion back into this, you cannot educate my child about sex education because that's the job of a parent. So you've got the same people, they don't want to talk about sex, but then after people are having unprotected sex and getting pregnant and then you can't do anything about it. So, it's these moral legislatures.
What do we do? We can't educate the kids. And speaking of kids, we also have another stat that the largest group, age group that seeks abortions is age 10 to 14, Lainey. I'm blown away by that.
That's amazing.
Totally blown away. 10 to 14?
10 to 14.
What in the world are you doing? What is going on?
But
we can't teach
the thing
them,
about
right?
it is you can't teach them. And the thing
involved.
about it is as our society gets older, and these girls are starting their menstruation at a younger 9, 8, 9, 10. So they don't know anything about their bodies. Their parents are not speaking to them. Little boys are speaking to them. They want to become popular. Things are happening. They have incorrect information because no one is telling them the truth, that, this is what is causing you to get pregnant. This is how babies are made. There's a lot of kids who believe that, if I have sex one time, I'm not going to get pregnant. Well, there's a lot of people out here in the world that were the first time babies, the first time, experiments with sex. So I think that, There needs to be a full-on conversation. That's fine. If you don't want your child educated about sex in school, then you need to take the responsibility to educate your child. But there are a lot of people who won't do it because sex is still a very taboo topic in this society.
And this is a very complex issue, one that we cannot just take from one perspective. But I really have to go back. Just this real quick thought before we go to break is that, again, Lainey, it seems as if there is an attempt to deregulate or no longer allow to totally eliminate abortions, with the exception of when government says you should have it.
Right.
And they're hinging it on the argument of we're looking out for the lives of the mothers and the children. So when you come from that, that's that heartstring that they're pulling on. Who's going to argue with you when you're saying, I'm trying to protect the mother and the children? Who's going to argue with you on that?
I think you have to argue with facts. And the facts of the matter is you're protecting the mothers when you allow them to have an abortion. If they so choose, have an abortion in a clean, sterile environment with medical aftercare and before care. That's where you argue that point. You can't, you want these mothers to live and survive, because a lot of these people who have had abortions do have other children and do have families that they have to take care of. So now that you have had this woman, she gets infected and she dies, who's going to take care of her children that still exist?
More questions, not enough answers. We'll be taking this topic up now, today, maybe a little bit after the break, and ongoing. So everyone,
we're going to talk about it after November 4th and see what did Tennessee do.
Yes, we'll see what happens. But everyone, please stay tuned. Keep hanging out with us. We will be right back.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Today might be the day I drop out of school. Today could be the last day I try. My parents alone can't stop me. My friends can't even stop me. But you might be able to. With United Way, you could tutor me, be my mentor, or volunteer to just read with me. If someone had helped me earlier, I might not be struggling. And studies prove that kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. There are tons of ways people like you can help kids like me stay in school. And United Way is calling for you to be one of them. Because it takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between me becoming one or the other could be you. Make me a success, not a statistic.
Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Good morning. We are back. We've had a really spirited, good conversation this morning, and now we're going to kind of move on over to talking about some of the fun things that are going on in Nashville. One of the things, Nashville in the fall is one of the best places to live. We have so many different things going on, and October is one of the best months in Nashville. There's so many different things, so many cultural events going on in Nashville, and the Metro Arts Council, along with a couple of other entities, have formulated this they've dubbed October Arttober. Arttober. And Arttober is a wonderful event so that you can get out and go see a bunch of different cultural experiences, art museums, dance, theater, anything that you want. And with us today, we have Rebecca Barrios with the Metro Arts Commission. Rebecca, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very excited about Arttober, and I just wanted you to be able to tell our listeners what goes on during Arttober. And what is Arttober?
Yeah, well, October is actually Arttober in Nashville as we celebrate the city's rich and diverse arts and culture scene all month long. So October has been designated as National Arts and Humanities Month by Americans for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. So to celebrate that locally, Metro Arts initiated Arttober Nashville as a campaign designed to highlight, inform, and inspire our community's participation in the arts.
That's wonderful. And so can you tell us a couple things that might be going on that might be interesting to some of our listeners?
Yes. So there are hundreds of events going on throughout the month. In our website, arttobernashville.com, you can kind of look on there and see everything that's happening. It's categorized by different genres, whether you're interested in music or fine art or craft or film. But some really exciting things are happening. This weekend at the Southern Festival of Books, we'll have an Arttober Nashville Performing Arts stage. There will be, we're dedicating a new piece of public art, actually, at the Southeast Library Community Center and Park. That's a sculpture by artist Paul Vexler, so we're really excited to add that to our public art collection. If the weather holds out today at 1 o'clock, if you go down to Public Square and look at the UBS building, you might see some aerial performers suspended from that high-rise doing a performance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I hope the weather does hold out. That sounds really, really interesting.
Yep, that's one of the pop-up performances that are happening this month. And that's a really exciting thing about Arttober Nashville is it's inspiring groups and performers to go out and kind of do pop-up activities around the city to engage people in the arts.
I know last year, and I don't know if you guys are doing it again this year, but I know that last year you all had an Arttober card that we could purchase that would give us maybe discounts. Is that still available?
We do have the discount card. This year, we're not necessarily selling them. We're giving them away on...
Even better.
Yeah, online. If you follow us on Facebook or Twitter, you can look for opportunities to win one of those cards. And if you happen to see us out at an event, we'll have a little drawing at different events. So, yeah, keep following us for opportunities to get one of those. It's discounts at over a dozen arts and cultural organizations in the city have contributed different discounts and offers for that card.
That's great. So everybody can get out and they can go see different things and save a little money. And just think, all you have to do is follow them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter and find out where they're going to be so you can go pick up your own cards.
That's right.
All right. Well, now, will you all have a booth at some of the different festivals that are coming up, like Oktoberfest, or some of what are some of the bigger events that you all will be at?
Yeah, so we'll be hanging out some at the Arttober Nashville Performing Arts stage at Southern Festival of Books, definitely at that dedication for the Southeast Library for the public art. We also have, later in the month, we're partnering with TEDx Nashville on an event where it's called Creo, which means to create in Latin, but it's a really exciting new partnership where TEDx is going to follow the normal TEDx format, but we'll have artists and creatives talking about creativity and the artistic process. So that'll be at Oz Nashville on the 28th. And then we're also offering a workshop with an audience development expert named Matt Lehrman on the 27th at the Nashville Public Library.
Oh, that's wonderful. So there's a lot of ways that people can get involved and get their art cards and go out and experience things. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for people to try something that they've never done before. And, you know, you never know. There might be something out there that you've never done before that you actually really enjoy. So I think that it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, thank you. We feel the same way, and just really the ultimate goal is that every Nashvilleian experience the arts where they live, work, or play. So hopefully that will come true this year.
Well, great. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go get my Arttober card. I know I went to I actually went to the opera last year, and it was really exciting. I learned something that I actually liked opera. So
Wonderful. Yep. They have La Boheme coming up, which I hear is going to be a fantastic production. So Swan Lake by the ballet, there's so many different things to choose from, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm about it.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for coming on. We'll have to have you guys back on to talk about whatever else is going on with Metro Nashville Arts Council.
We would love to.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I know. As if we need more things to do on our plate, but you know what? I live for arts and I live for culture and I live for new experiences. It makes you a well-rounded person where you can talk to people about different experiences and trying out new cultures.
We need to go hang out and go to some of that stuff. I heard her say something about some tickets. So I don't, if you just happen to text me and say, Harriet, we've got some tickets,
Absolutely.
Just let me know.
Maybe we can get some of those art cards here and we can just give away a couple to our listeners. Since they're free, I can go pick them up and, go give them to some of our listeners.
And something really important to let our listeners know, Lainey is in the know of all things cultural that are happening here in the area and around the country, really. A lot of things going on, but mostly focused here in Nashville, Tennessee. So we always want to have her report here. We will be bringing that to you more and more every week as she finds out about the latest things for you to, there's something more to do than go to the movies.
Right. I
or,
want you to step outside of your comfort zone. Step outside of your box. You never know. You may actually really, really like it. Like I found out that I liked opera. Who knew?
I really want to go to the opera. I really want to try it out. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we've got that news going on. As you all heard, Arttoberfest. Get in it. Get all in it. Be a part of it. Enjoy it. And also for other news coming up, we've discussed a lot of news this morning, but for some other news headlines, we are joined now by our news correspondent, Ms. Chantel Copeland, with the latest and what's going on. Chantel.
Good morning, ladies, and good morning to all of you listening in to this week's Pumps and Politics. I'm Chantel Copeland with the latest news that's happening around you. Starting off with national news. Reports are circulating that the Obama administration is strongly considering Ebola screening at major airports in the United States. These enhanced measures would supplement the screenings already being done in countries with high infection rates. According to a source who spoke with CNN, all options are on the table for further strengthening the screening process here in the U.S., and that includes trying to screen people coming in from Ebola-affected countries with temperature checks. Now with what's going on in Nashville, can you imagine sending your kids outside to play and they come back in saying they found a skull? Well, this is what happened to some kids playing outside their home in Hermitage. 10-year-old Madeline Inman says she saw the teeth and eye sockets. After that, her and her friends started running, thinking they might have been in some type of danger. Investigators are analyzing the remains but haven't made a positive ID. They say a man has been missing in that area of Hermitage for about a year now. They are looking into whether the skull may belong to that man. On another note, Metro police are investigating the murder of a man found shot to death inside a car in Madison. 22-year-old Dominique Black was found deceased behind the wheel of a car on Old Dewest Avenue. Detectives with Madison Precinct are working to retrace Black's activities late Saturday night up until his body was discovered. Anyone with information has been asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 615-74-CRIME. Forbidden sports, the Tennessee State football team failed to get a win, falling short to Southeast Missouri 28-21. Coach Rod Reed says the team has some plays that have to be cleaned up because their plays are way better than what they showed.
But I think that loss there lies solely on the shoulders of the defense. Our defense is much better than the show tonight. Yeah, we got some guys out, but there's no excuse. The next man in has to roll out there and make plays. We missed too many tackles tonight. We gave up too many third down conversions when we had the quarterback in our grasp. So there's some things that we got to work on.
For your weather today, there's an 80% chance of rain with a high of 71 degrees. Tonight will be thunderstorms with a low of 58. Tomorrow will also consist of thunderstorms with a high of 77. Currently, it's 61 degrees. For Pumps and Politics, I'm Chantel Copeland. Good morning, ladies.
Thank you so much, Chantel,
Good
for
morning.
that news update. Good morning, ladies. We'll start talking like this and we'll be like, Chantel, for Pumps and Politics. I like the way she says that. But in other news, another big headline just hit as she was doing her report. Lainey, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected all same-sex marriage cases. So we will be picking that up.
Yeah, so
That's a
that'll
whole
be
nother
another thing that we
discussion.
talk about.
Oh my! This is too much. I need to get
It's
my
a lot of
bowl. I'm
politics.
eating it up.
We need some pumps.
See, that's why we exist, everybody. If you ever even had a question, I know you love hanging out with us. I know you love talking to us and hearing us and all that good stuff. But there's so much to discuss, especially as it relates to things that matter to you. But speaking of things that matter to you, you have got to stay tuned for our round robin coming up right after. Well, we're not even going to do a round robin. We're just going to do our scandal discussion, our Shonda Rhimes roundup.
Yeah, we'll do a Shondaland.
Shondaland, yes, because we have plenty to talk about. And Lainey, please just give me like a few comments. Let me interject just a little bit.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna let y'all talk.
This is your area. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We've given you a lot of news, but come right back. We have a little bit to discuss. Is Shonda Rhimes an angry black woman? Is there such a thing? We're going to talk about it right after the break.
Take an ordinary putty knife and scrape off the old wax ring. Place the new wax ring over the flange, then line up the bolts with the bowl and gently set in place, making sure a proper seal is created with the flange and drain. Next.
Dad?
Yeah, sweetie.
Is that an old plumbing manual?
Oh, yeah, honey.
We really need to get some new books.
Right, do you want me to stop?
Nah, I kinda wanna know how it ends.
Okay. Tighten the bolts, line up the flushing valve to the opening in the top of the bowl, and secure the tank with a screwdriver and crescent wrench.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Pumps and Politics. Excuse me, Pumps and Politics.
Because now we have the Pumps and Politics girl.
Chantel Copeland. Everybody, please help us to welcome our news correspondent back in the studio. We're having you back. You always do our news updates, but now you're in the studio with us.
Yes.
Because we have a very important topic now. I'm going to tell you, like I had to tell Lainey, I know how y'all feel about this topic. Please let me get in just
We're
a
going to let you
little
go
bit.
first. Go.
Yeah.
We gonna,
I'm zipping my mouth
told
right
me to hurry
now
up.
because I already
Okay.
know.
So we're talking about Shonda Rhimes, and there was a lot of criticism that was, and we have to keep this brief because I have to give our radio announcements because, we got to be out of here like almost now. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion. Shonda Rhimes, of course, has Scandal, but now she has the new show, How to
she has
Get Away
Grey's
with
Anatomy.
Murder.
Don't forget.
Oh, Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy's still on.
Grey's Anatomy. But now she has How to Get Away with Murder, starring Viola Davis, who's doing an amazing job to an extent, I have to say, almost kind of a little, but I know we're going to have some disagreements there. But let us also point out the show has a very strong campaign. And then also, the show debuted. I'm about to get my stats back, but the show had a very, very strong
Debuted at number 1.
Yes, it did.
In its time slot.
And it's staying strong. And it's also butted up against my show on WeTV. Thank you. The Braxton Family Values don't play. But anyway, but the question is, there's some criticism that came up. I know Alicia, our producer over here / engineer, is like, yes, ma'am, I know I'm talking fast, but we got to get through this because I'm not going to be able to talk no more after this because y'all going to take over. But the question on the table by, I believe it was a New York Times reporter.
Yeah, it was a New York Times. And she wasn't writing it to be snarky.
You see how that happened, Alicia? You see how that happened?
Yeah.
I was trying to get it in.
I said snarky. That's all I can say.
She basically was like, here is another show from Shonda Rhimes, and she's this angry black woman using these characters basically to get out her frustrations, which personifies, brings to the television the angry black woman. I would have to say, based off of this, I kind of think she is looking at Viola Davis's character, who I like the show, but Viola Davis is a little. I want a teaspoonful. She's a cupful.
I don't necessarily see her.
Attitude.
I don't necessarily see her as angry. I see her as very twisted and dark and very conflicted.
Right.
But I don't necessarily. I haven't seen any anger from her.
Well, I've seen anger, but I still don't think she's just this typical angry black woman. I feel like she's this woman. She's going through a lot. She's seen a lot. She's also has a job that she's making sure she gets done.
Right.
And so I just see her passion.
And I think she tries to be as effective. And I don't see her as, I don't know. I haven't seen this angry part. I mean, she seems very vulnerable when she's talking to her boyfriend. I mean, and granted, she is married, so Shonda has to throw in all those twists and turns.
Of course.
And to just piggyback along that, any woman who, the part where she's going through her husband's phone and she thinks he's cheating, I don't know one race of woman that wouldn't
be
angry and with these words.
Because even on the last episode of How to Be an Angry Black Woman, How to Get Away with Murder, it was the little white girl who killed the father's wife because she was the angry white woman because the daddy had killed the mama.
But we don't hear nobody.
But at least she smiled in the episode at least once. I have yet to see Viola Davis smile.
Now
she has an attitude all the time. She has her sister girl walk. Yes, I am an African American woman. I am saying that. She has a sister girl walk all the time. She's rude. She cuts you off a lot of times. Now,
but
as
the white girl
she's powerful. She can be a bee.
But that white girl that works in her office is a supreme bee.
Right.
Because when that girl, she was like, I'm done. You can get out now. She's really angry.
Or even when she told them, when the guy was like, why is he here for? Talking about the black dude. Why is he here for? She said, why are any of you here?
Right. So I think. So is it angry women?
Right.
And let me also bring this point up before y'all cut me off again. Like, don't let me speak, Alicia, as you pointed that out. I would also like to say another thing to consider and look at as we understand the mind of Shonda Rhimes. Yet again, we have a main African American female character who's in a relationship with a white male.
Right.
And that's a big discussion in the black community as it relates to race relations. Is that even an issue anymore?
I don't know. That's a topic that we need to talk about, interracial relationships.
But why is it that Shonda Rhimes is putting it out there for every black woman to be with a white male is the question.
But here's the thing that I see. It's that it's fiction. That part is fiction. But here's the thing. We see black men dating white women in reality all the time.
Right.
So is she trying to show the flip?
I think so. Okay. Oh, we're getting the hard rap. See, that's what y'all get for taking up all my time. We're going to pick it up.
Who talked? We want a poll. Y'all call and tell us who talked the most on that segment.
Just don't post it on Facebook. But we're going to pick this up next week because we have more episodes. But again, some big announcements for the radio station. We are now the flagship station for the Gridiron Developmental Football League. Ooh. More to come on that. Big shout out to my boo thing, my honeydew Scott Wallace, the sports director, the chief executive officer, all those many titles that he has for inking that deal. But more to come on that. Again, hang with us on Facebook and Twitter, Pumps and Politics. Pumps and Politics. Hang out with us and everybody, and we will be back with you right here, same time, same place next week. Have a good
wonderful day.
Bye.